Perfect. Okay, so as we discussed, risk assessment, is there a connection with a high risk country? Yes, no, you'd identify it by looking at the link given below, financial actions, task force. They have a list of high risk countries where you can just see that is it on the list. If it is, then you need to do one of two things. Number one, and this would be basically in a um, orderly form. So it would be number one, you'd need to do a enhanced due diligence. In your enhanced due diligence, if you find something that is reportable to your money laundering reporting officer, MLRO, of the law firm, or the designated person at your law firm, who is basically an AML officer, you would be you would need to get in touch with them and say that this is the file, and you basically give them all the details. If they verify an issue, at that point, you would not be able to act for that client or that matter any further. If they say that you would need to do these following steps, and you can then, only then you can potentially act for this client, then you'd need to do the following steps. And once those are satisfied, have them rechecked by the designated person. If they sign it off, then you act for them in your usual manner and form. Now, area of law, um, it's commercial or residential conveyancing. In this very instant, it would be residential conveyancing. And you can say, yeah, just residential conveyancing is fine. Then we've got, now, so areas of law, sorry. You've got this drawdown list, which is employment, civil litigation, corporate, commercial, construction, property, tax, family, estate planning, conveyancing, or other. Now, employment is low risk, civil litigation is low risk, corporate, commercial, and all of the others, they have, apart from family, they have a high to low range of risk. Now, you need to identify that once you have all of the details, such as a memorandum of sale, which would say the purchase price. Before that, you would have the profile of the client, such as if he's a businessman, if he is an employed person or a retired person, or if he is just unemployed. Um, and you'd basically, on the basis of that, you just need to verify if it's high risk. If we're talking about conveyancing, it is high risk usually. So different law firms, they use different ID and AML check providers. Some use Credit Safe, some use Third Fort, some use other sorts of third-party ID and AML verifiers. It's up to the law firm. They would give access to you. So has the credit check, credit safe check, or the ID and AML check failed or raised a relevant issue? Is enhanced due diligence required? You'd say yes. If yes, then you need to do your further assessment or your further note down below saying that why is it yes. And if it's no, then you just need to say that if this is a standard client, he's basically employed, blah, blah, blah. And basically you just give a profile overview of the client and say that why is he not a high risk. Note that enhanced due diligence may be required where the client contact is a PEP, politically exposed person. Use checklist A attached to determine if client contact is a PEP. Now, every law firm has their own checklist. Usually, if you go onto the government's website, you can see what is a PEP and what does the government identify a person to be a PEP. The client is not met face to face. If the client's not met face to face, usually what's done is you ask for the client's ID documents, such as a in date or a valid passport or a UK full driver's license, and you basically, or their international passport, and you basically get on a video call with them and you ask them to hold their passport or their ID document that is recognized in the UK, right, right in front of their face, or just right adjacent to it, or just right across it, and you can just verify. And they would not have to. You can also test them to say what's your first name, what's your last name, what's your date of birth, without having them look at the document. So that's another concern. Sorry. Okay. So um, once that's done, you basically move on to the other steps. That is, if the credit safe check raises any issues, ensure standard and enhanced due diligences. Oh no, sorry, we've not done that. Note that enhanced due diligence may be required where, so we identify what a PEP is. The client is not met face to face, and then there are any other circumstances which represent a higher risk of money laundering or terrorist finance. Now, again, it all boils down to money laundering and identification of the client, because you've got two things that you need to look out for um, before you even start the process of conveyancing, which has its own risk associated to it. Is number one, is the client identifiable? Number two, source of funds identifiable, and does it make sense? Once you've done that, you can move on to opening the file and doing your other due diligence. So the MLRO, the money laundering officer of the law firm, regulatory officer of the law firm, considers that further due diligence is required if one of the above factors is present. Speak to the MLRO, consider Section 4 of the Law Society's practice note to determine whether other due diligence steps should be undertaken. Now, as I said, you need to report to your MLRO, and they would basically then steer in the way of basically if this is doable, if this not. If it's not, then they just guide you that it's not. CDD standard to be applied. Then you've got credit safe check only, either it's standard or enhanced. Then you've got documentation. Please complete this where this is a material AML risk. Now, if you've got an AML risk, does the firm already hold valid and up-to-date documentation for the client? Again, as I said, if it's a returning client or if it's a client introduced by a partner of the law firm, you can just see if you've got up-to-date documents such as ID documents, bank statements, and all of these kind of documents. If yes, please provide up-to-date documentation below as applicable. Now, sanction list checked. You need to check the government's sanction list if the client is under any sanctions, or if they are subject to any sanctions, or if their company or the country that they're from are under any sanctions. Original documents of identity seen, copied, and certified. Yes, no. For list of required documents for CDD for corporate or other entities, see checklist B attached. And there are different checklists, as I said, of law firms, but there is a standard if you go onto the government's website, you can see what documents can be used to verify the identity of a person or of a entity. Evidence of identity attached to this form, yes, because you should. Evidence of beneficial owners attached, if there are any beneficial owners, then yes, you need to attach it. You need to still check the checklist B. What enhanced measures were taken? If any, then you need to list down any enhanced due diligence that you've done, anything that you've reported, any outcomes have come across, any questions that you've put to the client regarding their matter or identity or anything else, you need to put it there. Now, again, the matter relates to purchase of property or some of the matter where comprehensive source of funds or wealth is required. Now, you'd say, I can confirm that the above named client has provided me the following documents to prove their source of funds, wealth for this matter, and these documents attached are bank statements, investment fund statements, their ISA funds account, their mortgage account, anything else that proves that source of funds, pensions account. So you need to have all of these documents with yourself, and you need to prove in a further step that monies coming in and monies coming out of those bank accounts are legitimate and they're not just coming in out of in basically instantaneously. Like monies came in at 12 p.m. today by an unknown source, and the monies are £100,000, and they went out at 1 p.m. today in the same day to some other account. So you need to check where are these monies going from, and is this being used as a front or as a banking facility for a money laundering purposes or for a money launderer. Because it could be the case where a person is just the neutral party to a transaction that's happening cross border. He's just sat there as a mediator in the middle, and he's basically getting the funds, making them sit for a while, maybe doing some grocery with them, maybe doing this or maybe doing that, paying someone's fee, university's fee, or paying this car's insurance or that car's purchase or doing that, some funny business, and then the money's directly transferred to a account number of a person C. Monies came in from person A, went into person B's account, stayed there for a unreasonable kind of a time, and went to another person C's account. Then you need to see, why did that happen? And why is there a sudden influx and outflux of monies coming in and out in that instant? So, and then I have checked these documents and I'm satisfied that they are at this time. And basically you're providing a certification that yes, you've checked all of the documents. This matter is ready to go, proceed forward. If in completing this form, you may have any concerns regarding this client, you must speak to the MLRO as soon as possible. You should not delay any single moment. You should not even delay a moment's time to go to your MLRO, designated person, to say, I haven't identified this, and can you please advise further action? So, has this client engagement letter been sent? Now, client engagement letter is a document where you are basically engaged by the client on a contractual basis for that matter. If yes, then yes. If no, then you need to send it if everything is satisfied. Now, person completing client due diligence. MLRO to sign if any concern. Authorizing partner, solicitor. Now, again, as I said, you would need to sign off if the structure of the firm is that you're the main fee earner, you're signing off a document saying that I've checked everything and everything's fine, you sign it off, and then it goes to the authorized person or the authorizing partner. They check again your work, or they check the file for any issues or any identifiable issues, and then they sign it off, or they send it back to say, can you please further check these points and get back to us as soon as possible. And if there's a third person involved, such as the MLRO or the designated person, then they would also put in their comments to say that you need to check this before you move on to the next steps. This form, duly completed, and copies of CDD documentation obtained must be saved to Insight Legal. So this Insight Legal is, again, a case management system. It can be saved on Proclaim, it can be saved on Leap, and the client engagement letter must be saved to the matter file on Insight Legal. Where a client is a PEP or a high risk, their details must be entered on the log of PEPs and high risk clients. Now, there should be a log of PEPs or a high risk client matters with the law firm, and you should list it down in your law firm for further any further matters that come for the law firm, and then they can identify that, oh, this person had instructed us in 2025 and now it's 2027 and this person has came back to us. So they can then identify that, no, we cannot either act for this person, or if circumstances have changed, then they need to do a enhanced due diligence. Now, this is PEP checklist A. Does the client or the person the client is acting for or a family member of the client, spouse, partner, parent, child, child, spouse, or partner? So this is the family tree that you need to look for. Or a person with whom the client is in business, joint ownership of the company, partnership, or association, hold any of the roles referred to as below. Member of the royal family, president or prime minister, member of parliament, holder of a senior appointment with an international organization, ambassador, and charge d'affaires, or however you pronounce that. And then you need to look at that. And then there is another continuance of this list: judge, member of the Court of Auditors, member of the Board of Central Bank, member of the Board of Management of a state-owned enterprise, holder of the following rank: Field Marshal, General, Marshal, Air Chief Marshal, Admiral. Now, these are all very high risk positions where you have access to either monies of the state or documents of the state. So you need to be very careful if your client falls into the category of persons or associated with persons of this list. You need to check it. If it is, then you need to report it, or you do your enhanced due diligence and then report it, or don't report it. It depends on that enhanced due diligence. If you have ticked any of the following, or any of the above, please provide details of the client's role or his/her relationship with the person in that role. That is, again, your due diligence that you need to do. Authorizing partner or solicitor would need to authorize it and sign off, and then date it. And then you've got checklist B, information required in standard enhanced due diligence. To verify identity for corporate and other entities. So this is a down list of how would you identify a professional or a regulated partnership, a partnership publicly well known, small partnerships. Then you've got standard risk, higher risk rating for identity. Every law firm have their own list, and you can have access to it, and they can give you access to it. Partner instructing you as for private clients, and if it's a large entity, evidence as per the private company listed on the following exchanges: London Stock Exchange, AIM, and then you've got wholly owned and consolidated subsidiary of listed company as above. And then you've got private company or company listed on other exchanges of other countries that are recognized by the UK, trusts, UK or EEA, European Economic Area, public authority, including local governments, other public bodies, and so on and so forth. This list goes on, basically, and that is about it. So that is basically the client due diligence that you need to do, the matter due diligence that you need to do. There is a checklist and there is this document combined with which you basically provide a report to the law firm as a fee earner or as an associate or as a paralegal. You tell them that I'm satisfied with the type of matter this is, the type of client this is, and why am I fine with the XYZ authorized person signing this off to further proceed with this matter. Bearing in mind that you would need to be very experienced or very knowledgeable with your knowledge of the SRA's standard of ID and AML checks that they have imposed on law firms for conducting high-risk matters. Every law firm does provide training of ID and AML check, but as a qualified person, you do give exams for the SQE, and you've got this as a subject as well, where you have that insight within your mind then how to identify a risk. But if you have access to a checklist like this, you're most probably doing a tick box exercise where it shouldn't be a tick box exercise. This is just a template. It's just to help you identify what is it that you're looking for. So I think we can stop sharing the screen now, and because right. So, Erica, any questions?
At the moment, no, but obviously I will definitely go over the recordings and my notes. And if I do come across something that maybe I didn't understand exactly, I'll definitely drop you a message about that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Again, conveyancing,
Mhm.
if you're very interested in it, it's a very good field of law. I've done it again for 3 to 4 years. And I am very excited about every single day when I go into the office. You get to see new kind of transactions. You get to basically work on your skills every single day. It does not matter if you're a 4-year post qualifying experience or 5-year PQE or whatever you are. Every single day you go in, there's a learning that you can do and you will do if you have that exposure with the clients, with the law firms. Oh, sorry, with the clients and the matters that the law firm uh, gives you to act for. This also is to say, so are you in your second year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in your second year, I would suggest you do a shadowing week or 2 weeks of shadowing with a law firm, or do a better yet internship with a law firm, paid or unpaid. It does not matter at this minute because again you're at your learning stages. But I would suggest first do this introductory course with me so that you have that insight of understanding what you're looking for, because at this point some law firms or law firms in general, they do not want to train people they want a person who knows
Right,
a foundational, who has that foundational concept, knowledge of it, and then they can train you further. So this is very foundational. I don't know if you find it a bit overwhelming, or is it very standard for you? Does it make sense, everything that I've said?
So far, it's definitely making sense because obviously, I've started to do real estate as well as a module. So a lot of what you're saying is starting to line up with what I've been learning as well. So it's very
Mhm.
helpful to supplement in the practice to what we're learning in law.
Yeah. So again, the, this is basically from the very initial stages how you basically take on a file. So we're here at this point. We need to get at this point. This is where basically you complete the transaction. This is where you basically start the transaction. The start is much more difficult in the sense that you need to do a lot of checks and balances. You have a lot of checks and balances so that you do not go into administration, your firm does not go into administration, or for worst case scenarios, you do not lose your license and you're not imposed with a fine by the SRA or the CLC. So, yeah, the next session would be about, so now we've opened this file, next session would be obviously about the general concepts of conveyancing, residential conveyancing, and we dive into that and see um, how conveyancing works, what are the different steps of conveyancing, and then we'd start from the very starting step of conveyancing. Yeah. Any questions? Again, you have my number. You can just ping me and I'll let you know. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the session. It's been really
No
great.
worries. No worries. Perfect. Okay then. See you
Thanks.
next week.